Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the road to an AI opponent for the MB Fleet Series game. So it's been a while. I've been working on enabling the actions that would allow um, forces to be automatically moved by the AI. And I'm at the point now where I think I have at least a rudimentary working process for ships and subs. I plan on doing aircraft later, but I wanted to show a demo of how the logic of the game um, moves ships around based on how you set up your metadata. Okay, so I'm in the setup forces. Um, this version is not out yet. I probably won't put it out until I have planes and ships working. So just to give you guys a level set, what we're doing here is I'm setting up a scenario, essentially a scenario where an American group needs to transport troops down to Crete, and the U.S. will have allies will have some ships that'll perform patrolling, and the Soviets will have some forces as well to try to stop them. Essentially, that's just basically the thing, right? So I'm going to try to make this pretty straightforward, but with a little bit of complexity, so you can kind of see how the gaming engine does what it's supposed to be doing. So let me tell you how I've set it up and show you how I set it up using these objective logics that I have created. All right, so essentially I've created these objective logic records, objects all over the map. Okay, and each of these objectives tells whatever ship that is linked to that objective, if it chooses to link to that objective, it will do the thing that the objective is telling it to do. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, we have several different types of objectives. I'll show you, I'll do the Soviet side first since it's a little easier to understand. So for the Soviets, I've set up a deployment logic that says it will cover any hex within this set. And I've set it up by creating the deployment logic and hitting things like adding hex radius, and it just kind of went outward until I was good enough. And I've linked only one object to that, one ship. That's this Soviet sub Sierra class, the Ovsienko. And so it's linked to that. So when the game starts, it will automatically choose a location that is, it'll randomly pick a location that is linked to this deployment logic, and that's where it's actually going to start the game. So that gives you a little bit of variability. I've also created two objective logics. So for the Soviet side, their mission is pretty simple. They are to head out to this patrol area and patrol anywhere in this radius. Okay? Now, when they run out of ammunition, I've set up a replenishment objective that's only linked to Benghazi. So essentially, um, if the logic works right, when the game starts, this sub is going to pick a random place to start, and then it's going to pick an objective, and it's going to either pick a patrol objective or a replenishment objective. And there's logic that says, hey, don't do a replenishment objective if you don't have anything to replenish. So every single one of these ship units should all pick the patrol area. Now, they're not going to pick the same exact location of the patrol, but they'll be like crisscrossing and searching all over the place. While they're searching, they'll do things like um, they'll just move to random spots within the patrol area. Once they get to that area, they'll pick another location to go. Or if the situation has changed and they pick a different objective, they'll then move on to that objective. But for these guys, since they only really have two objectives, one is patrol, one is replenish, they'll likely just keep going around in the search patrol area until they have a reason to replenish, and then they'll travel back down to here. Okay, so that's basically the setup. So what I've done for them is I set up a task force of Soviet ships, including a cruiser, two destroyers, and two frigates. I've not balanced this game to make it like necessarily even. I think the Americans do have a an advantage here. Likely they would in a Mediterranean conflict of this time period. I've also given the Russians a Sierra SSN and um, two diesel subs, a Libyan Foxtrot and a Soviet Tango. Okay. Now, for the Americans, or for the Allies at least, what I've done is I've set up a number of ships here. So in this group, there's essentially some AA ships. Now, if you look at the AA ships, if you notice, if I pull this, so this is basically AAs and FCs can do things like load and unload. Okay, so in this game, I've set up the to use the garrison combat, where I've set up in this particular base. If we look in this base, we look at Naples here. We notice I've set up a garrison of 50. That means there's 50 points of stuff that can be moved, can be loaded from here to here, because they have an objective to get to Crete. Okay. Notice if we look at Crete, we notice it has no garrison, right? So the goal is get ships down here and unload them. So different ships I link to different. It's kind of fun. Different ships I link to different objectives. But if all ships are in the same hex, then they'll kind of all group up into a task force and then choose between all of the valid objectives that they might pick. And it uses some logic to look at if a very high VP ship is pointing to a particular objective, that is going to outweigh a low VP ship pointing to a low VP objective, right? So if you set up your objectives to have a certain VP multiple, like notice this particular, if we look at this objective here, which is a type of unload, we notice that it has a VP multiplier of 1. But if we look at any one of our patrol ones, we have a VP multiplier of 0. So when you multiply everything together, you multiply the value of the ship times the objective that it's trying to get to, and compare it to the other ones. The ones that are higher VP, either higher ship VP or higher uh, objective VP, will win out when it does its calculations. Generally, right? There's a small chance it might pick one that's less, but it's a higher chance it's going to pick one that's more VP. There's also an aggressiveness, um, an aggression level of each type of objective. Some are set higher than others. That's really just set. I set that. So that kind of also just like says, hey, if you set your side, like for instance, if I look at the things, I notice that I've set both the Allies and the Soviet to normal aggression level. But if I were to set them to high aggression level, then things things like how often they attack versus how often they don't attack, how often they patrol versus how often they move to search, right? If they're more aggressive, they're going to search more, right? They're trying to scatter and find the enemy. If they're more conservative, then they're kind of gonna, if they're cautious, they're going to do more like staying within that same hex and patrolling. But we'll get to that later. So anyway, long story short, it's hard for me to not go down the tangents because I've created so much code here, but to follow along, hopefully I don't lose you. So different ships that are in this thing have this hex have different missions. So all the AA ships, if we pull one of the AA ships out and I drag it over here, we notice that it's only linked to two different hexes or two different objectives. One is this unload objective here, and the other one is a load objective here. Now, the load objective is kind of not really even going to be used in this scenario. Why? Because on this unload objective, I have it set to say remove unit when complete. So what that means is any ship that is linked to this objective, when it gets to that and accomplishes that mission, it will then get removed from the game. So I know some of the games, some of the times in the Fleet Series games, they say, hey, remove the ship when it reaches this objective. So that's you can set it up like that. You could also set it up where it doesn't do that. So if you did that, then essentially this ship that I was looking at before, which was San Bernardino, I think, or no, it's actually this guy. It doesn't really matter, but they all act the same. Notice he has a special value of 3. So if I didn't set this objective to be remove unit when complete, then what's going to happen is he's going to basically travel here, unload, and then what should happen is He picks back the load. He can't pick the unload anymore because he doesn't have anything on him. But he does have a load task, so he would travel back up here. So essentially, he would just go back and forth from here, picking up stuff, dropping off stuff, picking up stuff, dropping off stuff, etc. Right? In this particular, so I created both just so you get the idea. For this particular mission, though, I have set it up so that they disappear here, so that you could see that it disappears. So when it gets there, you'll notice that these ships will just get taken off the board. Now, what in addition to fun stuff I did is now when things get sunk and or things get objectives get taken, I now add VP to each other to the proper side. So here you see this VP, it starts at 0. As things happen, it'll add to it. I've also given you the ability to manually update it if you need to. Okay. Now, one key thing also I wanted to make sure you understand is that notice I put a so look if we hear aggressive none. If I left that as none, that means I would control the allies player. But because I set it to something like normal, when this game starts, I'm actually not going to do anything. I can't do anything. I'm just going to watch it, and the game is going to periodically show me where the ships are, and that's what I'm going to do on this thing. I want to show you how the game plays two sides of AI against each other, and then you can kind of get the logic of what it's trying to do. Obviously, I'll tweak this as necessary, but I think it's right now it's working fine enough that you can understand that how it's working and generally get some ideas of how it would play when I release this thing. So obviously, most of the time you're probably going to play you're probably going to play you against the computer. But you could set it to be computers against computer. So anyway, what other type of objectives have I loaded? Okay, so I've also added a sub here, and if I pull it here, we notice he has two different objectives that he's linked to. One is the patrol objective. It's underneath this one. There's an allies objective under here. Actually, I'll show you. Yeah, there's an ally one, and this ally one has the same radius as the Soviet one. So he's linked to the allied patrol area. He's also linked to this objective, which is a replenish. So essentially, for him, he's going to go out here, prosecute targets, and then he's going to come back. Now, on this ship, there's an AI role that it defaults to. I'm going to set it to for these types of ships. I've given I think for subs I've given 4 different like roles you can possibly do. Anti-sub. Um, well, I'll fix that. It looks like you can't change that, but suppose there should be a way of changing it. But I'll fix that. But anyway, right now they're going to all stay at their defaults. So, but for subs, you can either set them to be anti-sub, anti-surface. I think it's default warship. So in other words, it'll attack any type of target. In fact, it'll attack any type of target anyway. But when you set a particular role, it tells you what type of like armament should be on the ship before it decides to be in replenishment. For instance, if the ship is a primarily a anti-ship role and it runs out of ASW points, it won't necessarily think it needs to go back to base. Okay. Um, if it's set for anti-sub and it runs out of SSMs, it may not think it needs to go back to the base. And it also does it at the task force level, right? So at the task force level, um, when you do replenishment, it still will fill up the torps if it doesn't need the torps. Meaning, I'm sorry, if for instance it's a anti-submarine one, it will still fill up SSMs when it replenishes. So that doesn't affect that. So it'll still do like normal when it replenishes, but you can set a particular role just to kind of orient the ship to how it kind of acts during the game. I would generally leave this alone. Most of the defaults that I set up for these work pretty well, and it doesn't like hamstring you if you're set up for anti-sub. But by the time you get this, you'll be able to pick between the different AI roles for each ship. Okay, so I'm gonna move him back here. So he doesn't have a deployment. So none of the ally stuff have deployment logic. So they'll all start exactly where I leave them. I'm going to put him back up here. Now, because these guys are all sitting in the same spot, the logic will basically bulk them up as a task force and send them on their way together. Okay, which you'll probably notice. All right, what other things? I added a Greek sub. He's got 2 objectives. He's got the same patrol, but then when he wants to replenish, he's going to have to go to Athens. So I just decided to do that just because, you can set it up like that. You can set up a ton of these objectives around. Now, even though I'm leaving the objective where they represent just so you can see it. But after you set up the locations that each objective represents, there's no reason why you need to leave these objectives like sitting on the screen. You could leave them there just because you want to know, but you should be able to if you're doing computer against computer, you should be able to, or during setup, you can move this guy anywhere. You can move him off the map. I mean, you can move him all the way up here, right? Now, even though it shows this guy is linked to this guy, it doesn't mean he's going to try to go up into Bulgaria. He's just going to go where this objective represents, which is here. So this is pretty much just a label, right? It's a it doesn't really, wherever I move him, it does have nothing to do with the location of the objective logic. This is the spot that the objective has to do with. Okay, so what I'm trying to say there is after you set up all your stuff, you can then take all your objectives and just move them out of the way because the AI is just going to follow those AI objectives and it's not going to get distracted by the fact that the piece is over here. It's going to care about this location. Okay, so you can to declutter your screen, you can kind of move them around and get them out of the way. Um, let's see. I think that's about it. Oh well, oh yeah. So the AA. So I added in some AA shifts, which have to go down here. I added in some warships, like the Horn, which is a Belknap class. If we look at this guy, we notice that he has let's see, he has a patrol, and then he has a replenishment. Notice that the AA ships didn't link to the replenishment because there's no reason for them to replenish, right? So they don't have to replenish. Now they may get dragged along if they're with warships, and the replenishment wins out in the picking of the thing. They may just stay along with it, but they don't need to, right? So essentially, so every ship is set up with like the things it needs to do. Um, so you as a designer, obviously this is a lot to figure out. But I'll of course send out like the scenarios that are already set up like this. Okay. But as you learn, you'll be able to start setting them up yourself. Okay, by using however logic you want. All right, so I think there's also another. Oh, what did I do with that guy? Oh, you know what? I know what I did. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create another objective type just to show you how it works. So I'm gonna create an objective logic. So I created a bunch of different types. So this one is, I don't want this to be a control, a destroy base. So destroy base are for ones where essentially the ships will go to that location and will try to destroy the base, unless they run out of stuff or they're destroyed, obviously. Um, there's also a concept of how long they're on that objective. So it once they decide that they're destroyed, if they pick a destroy base objective, let's say I drag a destroy objective base to say it doesn't really matter, but let's say over here, right? And I set the objective location to be right here. Then if something picks it, it's gonna try to travel over here, go actually into this thing and destroy the base. It'll use whatever weapons it has. So if it has cruise missiles, it'll fire cruise missiles the minute it's in range. If it doesn't, then it'll float up in here and it'll use guns and stuff on in close combat on it. Okay? But I don't want this to be a destroy base. I want this to be a different type. So let me show you what it is. There's a replenishment. No. I could make it replenishment, right? I could take this replenishment one, and I could, if you take it, right now it's only linked to Sigonella. I could also drag it up here and tell it use this hex to coverage. And so what that means is this objective, it covers this location and this location. That means that if somebody picks replenishment, they may pick either of these locations. So you could do things like you could either set up multiple objectives and link them to individual spots, or you could be kind of saucy and create one single objective and have it linked to both spots. And then whenever a ship or a group picks that objective, they'll randomly choose between these two areas. Okay. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reset that because I don't want it to have two. I want them all to go to Sigonella just for showing. So I'm going to do is I'm going to clear locations and then I'm going to add this hex back. So now this replenishment only covers Sigonella. But anyway, this one, what I planned on doing was create a grouping. So I haven't really tested whether a grouping works or not, but I'm creating it anyway. And essentially what that is well, I'm going to drag all the surface ships up here that the allies have. So this grouping one, first of all, I'm going to add this hex to coverage. So now it covers Toronto. What this basically means is it's a very low priority objective, but occasionally, if it runs out of, let's say we run out of things to do that are of higher priority, then it'll pick this as like a last resort. So let's say, for instance, that the best example would be, um, actually, I think I know what's going on. Oh, I actually did create it. I'm going to delete this guy. Hold on. Okay, I did create one. It's over here. Anyway, Um, is this the one? Grouping. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so I set a grouping one in the same space that in the same place, and it covers Sigonella as well. So now you have two objectives in this box. So what the grouping one is like, hey, if I don't have anything else to do, just go here. Okay. So what you can use that for is, let's say things are flying, there's a good chance that as the battle ensues and things run out of fuel and things run out of ammo, they may individually peel off from a task force and go and to their home base. Now, what you end up having is you might have ships all spread out. So a grouping one that if they pick the grouping, they're basically going to go to the grouping and they're just going to kind of wait there until something better comes along, meaning a bunch of other ships come into port, and then they have a mission to go patrol, and then that ship just kind of follows along. So the best ships that cover this are like combat support ships. Okay, so for instance, if we look in here, I'm putting a ammunition ship, a general combat support ship, and a tanker here, or an oiler. And if we look at the oiler, we notice that the oiler is only linked to this uh, this objective. Okay, so what does that mean? Does that mean the oiler is just going to immediately upon starting the mission go down here? No. Since the oiler is in this hex, it does a big conference with everything. When the logic, it figures out what everybody wants to do, and then it figures out what's the highest priority thing. So this oiler will basically start and just tag along in the task force with all these guys until it needs to either replenish. I think it is linked to the replenish objective, and it's linked to the grouping. Okay, so essentially, what that means is if it runs out of stuff to do, especially things like Oilers and stuff, if it gets broken away from a task force and it's sitting by itself, it's just going to beeline for the grouping one. And the goal is it'll get there eventually, and then when other ships come in because they're on a grouping or they're coming to replenish, then he just gets sucked up by them and pulled up, and he just goes along with them. So that's what the logic should do. Okay. So anyway, let's get started. Hopefully, I haven't broke anything. I've made code changes all the way up to the minute that I'm doing this game, or doing this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off all the linkages because you don't need to know the linkage anymore. What you do need to know is what each ship chooses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this and I'm going to say don't show the AI logic. All right, no lines or location indicators will be shown. Okay, so now they're all gone, or they're gone as soon as it refreshes. So when I click that, now we got nothing. Okay, so we're going to hit start and we're going to see what it does. What we should see is immediately we should see this guy go somewhere randomly within this thing. He may end up staying where he's at just because he randomly picked the same spot he's in, but we'll see. Um, yeah, so let's just go. When you have two sides, oh man. Well, okay, fine. Okay, it's fine, but really, I didn't really want to have a storm right here in the middle of the Central Mediterranean when I'm trying to do a demo. But it shouldn't have much of a it shouldn't have much of a an effect. It just means things are going to running a little slower at first, right? They're only going to move so far because you can only move so fast in a storm. But then once the first day finishes, then hopefully the weather will change and we'll have clear weather. All right, so there's a new phase that gets created if you have both sides AI. Then you're going to occasionally get these. Basically, the way you're going to play your game, and I'm doing this purely as like a debugging mechanism to see how the game works. But I've added a phase called AI situation, right? AI situation review. And essentially, what this is it's an ability for you to see everything on the map because both sides are computers, so it's okay if you see it, and it'll show what every ship is doing. Okay, or generally, I've tried to give you the ability to kind of understand what's going on as it's following this thing. If it's you against the computer, you won't see this phase. You'll just see your phases, your normal phases, right? You pick your activating your ships, you move your ships, and all that stuff. But since there's none of those phases matter when the computer is playing each other, I created a special phase for that instance so that you can actually see what's going on. All right, it's not that fun just to have the thing run and doesn't tell you anything. So all right, so we're in round one, cycle one. Everything's starting, and everything's trying to figure out um, what it's doing. Okay, so let's go. Okay, bang. All right, so this is pretty cool. All right, so let's just go through what everything's happened here. Okay, let's see. So I did create a little menu up here that shows you what each of them are doing, but it just went away. So I'll fix that so it shows up. But every time I tell it to move, it's going to show this little thing. Maybe I'll probably create a new button that's called AI, and only if you're in AI review mode will it pop that thing back up. But essentially, what it showed was every group and what they're trying to do. But you could tell by just looking at this too. All right. The reason why I went away is because I dragged the screen. So I'll try not to drag the screen next time. But if we look, right, it's gone to round two, which means everything went through one full cycle of 10 cycles. That means planes would have moved 10 spaces, but ships moved one. So we can see what everything's happening. So this task force, which now is formed on the Barry and has all the stuff involved, is now trying to get all the way down to this logic. All right. The sub. The sub is going here. The Groton. The Triton is going here. Okay. And pretty much everybody else. So he did get moved. He started here now, and now he's moved from here. He's up here, and he's moving toward here. Same thing with this group. The task force is heading up there. So they're all going to just random spots. Nobody's detected anybody. So who knows? If we look at these two subs, we see that the Russian one is going here, and then uh, the Libyan one is going up here. Now, um, these they don't have to necessarily reach here. There's a small chance that as they're traveling along, they pick a new spot, especially if they detect enemy. So once they detect enemy, if the enemy is detected in their patrol area, there's a chance, depending on their aggression level, that they will then make a beeline for that enemy and start moving toward it. So you'll notice that once we get to the point where things start seeing each other, you'll see things like change direction and they'll be trying to go to where they're going. But right now, everybody's just going in a big random assortment. The only guy who's actually got any real mission is this cat right here, who's heading down here to unload. All right, so we're just going to keep moving on along. You can see what happens. And what's good is this is going to show me how to speed things up because I can notice how inefficient things are if it takes a long time to go through all the processes. But take a look here. It shows each of the different groups, and everybody's on patrol except for this allied task force, which is going on an unload mission. Now, if the ships end up like if additional things happen that you want to know, like I think I allow you to know whether or not the ship or the task force is loading or unloading, if it's replenishing, or if it's searching, right? So the way ships go is when they're on patrol, right? They either move or they stay in that spot and they're like just searching in there. Usually you get better ability to detect subs if you're just sitting stationary. Okay, I think that's a thing I put in earlier. Um, during the regular game version one that I put in. So that ability, the AI will pick between either moving on to a new spot or stopping and searching. And by stopping and searching, it has a good chance of capturing stuff. That'll especially come into play when you got airplanes, right? You'll have loitering planes flying around that'll be searching for things, then they'll stop and they'll just go into recon mode, which then they'll be able to detect things better. So they'll just kind of move around randomly until they find something, and then the AI start taking over and they'll start trying to um, attack things and follow things. Okay. All right. So let's just keep going. We'll probably have to click through a bunch of things, right? In the central Mediterranean, there's storms. So anything moving in storms, especially surface ones, aren't going to be able to move that fast. In fact, if we look at this guy, we notice, right? This guy, he has, because it's a storm, he can't move that far. Okay, so basically, I think he's about done. I think for in a storm, you can really just move one or something like that. I know in the squall, you can move two or something, or you're moving a lot allowances, or it takes more points to get into each thing. So things will start slowing down when you get in here in the first day. Subs won't be affected. So maybe, who knows? Maybe our subs are going to run into each other. We'll see. Let's have fun. Check it out. I could have moved the ships a little closer to the patrol area so it doesn't take them so long to get in here, but oh well. You can fast forward through this thing. Oh, oops. I hit a breakpoint that I was using some logic here. So nope, don't need that. Okay, so no units with orders or movement points remaining. Action segment is over. Okay, so turn 2 p.m. Boom, it goes on to the next turn. Things start picking. Notice some of the destinations changed a little bit. So like there's a small chance that as they're still moving into the area, they might change where they're going. It's a little bit of randomness, right? So, but no one's changed mission, right? They're all still on the same mission. In fact, most of them will still be on this mission until for a while, right? The first guy to change mission would likely be the okay. So here we go. So the first one that would likely change mission is likely this guy, right? So by the time he gets all the way down here, he's going to go from an unload task to something else, right? So likely he'll go to patrol because when he gets to the unload, all the AA ships will unload and they'll also disappear. So then all that's left is a bunch of warships and um, support ships. So the only missions that they have are either patrol or the support ships have like a grouping or replenishment, right? So essentially, patrol is a higher priority one. So what should happen is when this guy gets all the way down here, whoever has survived and made it through this maelstrom is going to then probably turn into a patrol, which then they'll start patrolling in here. Now, the ships here we show some logic here. So depending on your AI aggression level, your ships may at some point choose to not move, but instead like look for enemy subs. Okay, if they're in a anti sub role. Okay, so so both these guys just happen to they're both in the patrol area, so they can now start patrolling, and both of them decided to go ahead and just patrol where they're at. Okay. All right. So, um, yes, let's just keep going. We'll probably make it about, let's see, probably up to around 4 until it'll end, right? Because ships will move, or the subs will move 3, right? And then they'll run out of things to do. All right. So I'm gonna keep going. Hopefully, we can move through this day quick so that we can actually start speeding up. And let's hope it doesn't do another roll of storm in the Central Med. Boy, that was lucky. Or unlucky, I should say. Okay, so now both these guys decided they're not patrolling anymore. So now notice it doesn't show that they're searching; they're just on patrol. Okay, so both of them decided that. Now he's changed his thing; he's moving up here. All right, and notice, isn't it cool that this thing found this part here is one of the hardest parts, right? Coding this piece where it basically finds the pathing. What I ended up doing is it's quite a lot of labor for the engine to figure this stuff out. So what I decided to do is what I do is I start from the start point and I start from the end point and I radiate out and it searches until they touch until the two paths touch each other. And the minute that they touch each other, then I know I have a path between this thing. So anyway, uh, just that's the underlying logic that I use to figure out these pathings. And I try to keep the path on a general straight line to that. So if this was if it didn't have to get around the boot of Italy, it would just go straight like that toward the place. So anyway, I'm just excited to tell you guys about all the stuff underneath the covers, if any of this is interesting at all. All right, so this will likely be, yep, that's the end of the round. All right, so now we go to night. And once night is done, then it'll use up fuel, and it'll start the new day, and it'll roll weather again. So each, I believe, since it's storm in Essential Med, I believe this surface group can only move one spot each turn. So if you should be only, yeah, since we're in night, it only moved three. Went here, here, and here. Okay. Um, and these guys are slow, so it's going to take them a while. So these guys are basically just tootling around, patrolling the area ahead of this guy. I also increased the area. So in my testing, the patrol area of this was smaller, so things ran into each other a lot more. Notice there's actually quite a bit of room now here on this thing, right? I think it goes all the way out to here, right? So there's quite some room in here. So people are not necessarily going to run into each other. All right, so the Ovienko, if you notice, he's now in search mode. So he must have gotten into the area. So wherever he is, which is, where is that cat? He's right here. If we look at him, he's in search mode, and he's right here. So he must be within the patrol zone. So he just randomly decided to stop and search here. Okay. Luckily, I think. Hmm. The Americans haven't actually entered the Central Med. I didn't check to see whether the Tyrrhenian was also in Storm. I can tell, right? We can tell. If I click on this, it shows, yeah, he's in Storm. Okay. So, yeah, so it's slow. That's why he's only made it this far. So, boy, oh boy. When I'm trying to demo something, the stupid randomness actually slaps a storm right here in the middle of the med. It's kind of annoying. All right, so hopefully we'll get to the point where actually something happens here soon. Because I want to show you, I want to show you some stuff blowing each other up. So let's go. Let's go, subs. All right, patrol, 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 searching. All right, the Soviets are now searching. Okay, fine. Um, yeah, so this guy's getting pretty close. So where's he trying to go? He's trying to get down here. So we may get a I think this turn's about to finish. It should be. Yeah, the turn should end right now because nobody should have anything left to do. And no one can move anymore. Nope, something moved. I can't tell what. I'll have to figure that out. What the hell is this guy going? Oh yeah, he's out of stuff. Oh, he did change, but he didn't actually move. Okay. Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, so I'll have to. There's some things that are happening here that I'm not 100% sure why it's continuing to go. I think it's because one of these guys has like a lot of movement points left over because he didn't move for a while, and he has stuff saved up. If we look at the, let me see here. We look at the Soviet guy. Okay, he's now out of. All right, he's out of stuff, so he should be done. I think what happened is because he's in a storm, he couldn't actually make it more than one spot, but he still had room left to like just patrol. But I do think there's like a little bit of an issue with the how it's counting off the um, like the rounds and things. So I'll have to investigate that because I want to see if I can reproduce that. Which thankfully now I have a nice save. In fact, I'm going to save this so that I have a way of testing. Oh, it's automatically saved. Okay. All right. So yeah. So I'm going to go over here to my. I'm going to go over here to my. Where was I? Yeah. I'm going to copy this one here. This is the one we're playing. I'm just going to copy this over here and just leave it like that. This one is test. I'm just going to name it, you know, test usage of movement points. Okay, great. So I'll come back to that at some point and use it as a test to figure out what's going on there with that guy. But hopefully it'll end now. There should be nothing. No one has any points left to do anything, so I don't know why it's still going. All right. No units with orders or movement points remaining. Action segment is over. Turn 4 a.m. All right. Come on, baby. I tell you what, I'm, if if you, all right, great. Woo-hoo-hoo. All right, clear skies. All right, let's go. Goodness. All right, so everybody's now moving around. Let's go. Still, everybody's on patrol. Hopefully, something. So it basically took a day for everybody to get into the area because of the storm, and now hopefully we'll have some stuff happening. Have some fun. Okay. All right, Triton's in searching, which means it should now have movement. Yeah, it should have 1 point left. Okay. The task force here, it has 3 points left. Okay, it moved one. And now it's all right, so there should be some depending on I think I have how to I think these guys will likely detect each other after this round. Um Actually, let me check to see if where is the Soviet sub? Oh, here. So yeah, no one's been detected. You can tell if they're detected just like a little box over here that shows that they're detected. So hopefully we'll have something happening here. Let's see if these guys can detect each other. Looks like the U.S. sub is just randomly moving and is about to go into this location, but this guy's going to be moving here. Okay, we have stuff. We have some stuff cited. So let me move this out of the way so you don't look at that. Okay, so looks like likely we're about to see our first battle. The Soviet sub and the American sub are right next to each other. They aren't necessarily going to shoot each other, but since they're detected, it's a good chance, right? He has a good chance of firing. He has a good chance of firing, and he has a good chance of firing, but he can only fire at this guy. Okay, so we'll see what happens. There should be some combat happening right about now. ASW, Soviet versus Allies. Attack on the SN Groton with 6 points. I'm thinking that's the. I'm thinking. Yeah, that's the Ovsyanko. Okay, and he didn't do. And he didn't do good. All right. Did the American fire back? It's not necessarily. It won't always, right? Depending on its aggression level, it may attack. It may not attack. Okay. Um. Wow. They switched spots. Isn't that funny? So all right. Let's see what happens. So this guy should be now. If we look, he's out of movement points, right? Because we've gone 4 rounds. This guy's out of movement points. This guy has 1 point left. This guy should have no points left because he's got some stuff in it, right? And these guys already reached their limit. So we might still get another battle here. The U.S. sub might shoot at the Russian sub. We'll see. It does. It fires. No effect. All right, let's go. Okay. Nobody should have anything left to do. They're both fired and they can't move anymore. So, and he should be out totally. Yes, he's out. How do I know he's out? I'm looking up here. It usually says if he has any points left, it'll say move one, but he doesn't have any. He doesn't have any points left. So this should be the end cycle. It should not get to 6, but I've been wrong before. Okay, it's done. All right, now we're moving on to PM. Everyone resets all their attacks and stuff. So now since okay, so the only guy that is still in who's still detected This guy must have lost his detection. Remember, I added in real-time sub, right? If we look over here, real-time, was it real-time sub detection is checked, which means that depending on circumstances, right, it's going to roll again to see if the guy evades, right? So I think this guy was able to. It was stacked against him, right? He was detected, and there's a U.S. sub with high ASW, so it wasn't a sure chance, but he got lucky and he went undetected. So now the only people detected is the U.S. sub, which means it's very possible. In fact, it looks like someone's trying to go here. Let's look here. Yeah, notice this Soviet task force is now heading toward this way. Why? Because likely it's not a coincidence. He just happened to pick the spot that this guy is. It's probably because he detected it, and then the logic is saying, "Hey, go prosecute this guy." All right, so let's see what's going on. ASW combat, Soviets versus Allies. Okay, so that's probably and likely he'll get detected again now, depending. Let's see. The Russian sub fired, which means he'll likely be detected if yep, he's detected. Okay? So they're both detected. But now if you notice, right, you can tell everything's kind of they're all closing in on the they're all closing in on the Groton. Now notice what this guy did. He was aimed toward there, but when it came to the time for him to actually decide to move, he thought better of it and he went into search mode. So it's just really random in that regard. So, over time, what I plan to do is capture these decisions that the AI is making and then put it into a giant database and then use machine learning to basically have it learn what things end up gaining it points, what doesn't, right? And if it has enough telemetry and I save enough information, I can use a machine learning to basically say, hey, in this circumstance, given these circumstances, it's easier to say than to do, but you get it, right? If I collect up enough data, I can kind of start um, having train the AI to do things, right? But it's very complicated and it's not as simple as should I attack or should I not, right? You have to capture all the right telemetry. What am I comparing it to? What is the thing that I'm trying to hit? How far is it away? How much ammo do I have, right? There's a lot of things that it'll have to capture. So the key will be capturing the right amount of data to allow it to make smart decisions in the future. But right now, it's cool just to watch how the AI decides to do things. All right. Hopefully, American blows something up right now. I want to see some. I want to see some stuff go boom, and not the Groton. All right. Notice the Triton is now heading down toward here because he detected that Ovysienko. Okay. But look, because of the way things moved, now everybody's gone undetected again. So the American got lucky and the Russian got lucky. Everything's undetected. But he's still going to head down to this area. So maybe the Americans will get some luck and something will happen. Meanwhile, uh, advantageous for the Americans is our lovely little task force is scooting around and no one has any idea it's over there. So this guy might scoot through there without any problems, which is going to give the Allies a lot of VP. Or it's going to give them some VP. All right, so things just continue to move on. Let's just move this through until something happens. Anyway, I find this interesting. If y'all don't find it interesting, hey, y'all have already closed the video. So, okay. Now this guy randomly decided to go up this way for no reason, just cause, and he may run into this, which is usually the first real battle I got in all my testing was this task force against this task force. Since since surface units find each other a little easier than subs do. All right, let's keep going. All right, night. Here we go. Okay, we can start over again. All right, so this should be interesting. Let's go. Nobody's detected anybody. Even if this guy was one thing close. Okay, so what's happened? Well, the Americans detected this Libyan thing. Let's see if the Americans attack this Libyan ship. If they do, uh, there's another one in here too. Let me check to see if that guy got also. Nope. So just the Libyans got detected. All right. Let's see if the Americans fire on the Libyan ship. Nope, they didn't. So the randomness is definitely making the Americans a little cautious for some reason. It just keeps deciding not to attack. All right, we're getting closer. Where is the? Oh, he went into search mode, so now he's not up there. So I'm telling you right now, the way it's looking, unless something crazy happens, I think this task force is going to make it all the way to Crete without even being sighted. Let's see what happens. Okay, definitely adding all these. The last mission I didn't have the American subs. I didn't have none of the Allied subs, and only two subs for the Russians. So I've added more ships in here, and it's made the scenario go a little different than what it has been doing, which is kind of cool. All right, I guess that's done. Let's go. Oh, bottom half of stack targeted. That tells me this is an SSM attack. Somebody's attacking who? I don't know who. We'll see. Scooby-Doo. SSM combat. Allies versus Soviet Sea Skimmer. So somebody's attacking. 24 points. So that had to be the Americans. Americans must have detected the Soviets. Attack the Golovko defends with area anti-air. So is the two Kashins. Um, and we got lucky. Attack result of 2, so we damaged the Strogi. One thing I've noticed is that the AI does generally, the way I put it, they just kind of start at the top, the most top level ship, and always attack downward. So they're generally always attacking a flagship if they can. In this case, I can't remember what it said. Bottom, I think it said bottom of the target, so it did the highest ship in the bottom half. Okay, so it is now a damaged ship. Now, because of the damaged ship, the Americans have gained VP. So I basically award VP. Um, at the moment, something gets so here. If I show you VP here, it should show Allies got 1.5 points of VP, which is half the value of the whatever ship that we hit. Let's see, um, which one is damaged? This guy, the Strogi. Attack the Strogi, and the Strogi is 3 points. I basically use the defense value. For some things higher, like for American carriers, I add as a bonus on it. And for same thing with Russian carriers and stuff. But essentially, unless they have a if they have a special value like a transport or an AA ship, it'll use their defense value as their VP. Okay, I could probably allow you guys to update that strategy of how it decides the VP, um, but it's pretty predictable at least. So we can figure out whether I want to give you guys the ability to adjust that what it does. But essentially, he gets 1.5 points for damaging this ship. Okay, so the Americans get first blood. All right, let's keep moving. Round 6. This should be the last. Oh, bottom half is stacked. Someone else is attacking now. Oh, the American. Oh, that was dumb. I think the American. Yeah, I think the American task force is attacking somewhere. We'll see. Allies versus Soviets. 12 points. Not sure who fired 12 points, but the Russians survived it. My guess is you'll be able to tell after this thing. It'll probably show the American task force with a little. Yeah, that makes sense, right? So it shows he did get an attack here. He has one combat, so that makes sense. He's the only ship in this group that has tomahawks is the Barry. So the Barry is the only guy fired. Uh, hmm. Likely. Oh, he got lucky. If there's anybody within 1 hex of him, he would have automatically been detected. But since there are no Russians within 1 hex, this dude is still undetected. My laws. Anyway, once he gets down to the Crete, unloads, and then goes on patrol, um, I'll probably stop the video because you can understand that it basically did everything it's supposed to do. All right, so it's a new day. Fuel may have gotten burnt. Basically, since most of these ships are doing a lot of patrolling instead of moving, probably a lot of them are not. Okay, great. No storm here. All of the attacks are cleared, and let's see what everybody's doing. All right, let's go. Oh, so some of this detected. So this guy's detected. So he's probably going to get attacked by people pretty soon. Bottom half of stack targeted. Here we go. Target damaged. So 20 points came in from 20 points came in from somewhere. My guess would be the Americans. My guess. Target. I mean from the task force. All right, target damaged. He attacked the Strogi and the Kavkaz. So now we have 2 ships damaged. I'm guessing that there's also a I'm guessing. So he's detected now. The Groton's detected. So maybe the Groton attacked. I don't think so. Let me look at here. Who else has got the Barry, the Horn, the Towers, perhaps? Nope. So I'm not sure who attacked. Was someone attacked with 20 points? I'm not sure who it was. Yeah, because the Americans have 12 points, and the AI won't use like intensive fire and stuff like that. Um, oh, oh, I know what happened. So what it did was this guy attacked with tomahawks, and this guy attacked with harpoons. 8 points, 12 points. That's 20 points. And you notice both have a mark down to show that they both attacked. So remember, there's a setting that I put in called combined combat. That's turned on. So essentially, it combined both attacks into one attack on the Soviet task force. So that's what happened. I tell you, my code is smarter than I am. I don't even know what it's doing half the time. All right, ASW combat. Soviet versus Allies. Someone attacked the Groton with 5 points. That surely must be likely the Soviet task force, but we'll see. Uh-oh. More attacks. Somebody also attacked the Triton with 6 points. That's probably one of the subs. Soviet versus. Good lord. 3 different ships attacked the American subs or the Allied subs. No effect. So sub type stuff doesn't combine. Okay, doesn't make sense. Sub anti-sub work is very individualistic and stuff. All right, so literally almost everybody's detected. So maybe, yeah, this guy could torpedo this guy. We'll see if he tries, or he might attack here. We'll see. And this guy's just floating along. It looks like he's gonna get downtown without anybody messing with him. Uh-huh. Now the American sub is taking it easy. Okay, he's almost there. Alrighty. Oh, notice someone is. Aha! Look, the Ovsyenko is now on replenish. Why? If we look at him, he's out of torps. So he's done 3 different ASW attacks against subs. He's in role of anti-sub, and he has no more torps. So he's got nothing left to do except replenish. So now he's going to head down here. He's going to replenish, and then he's going to head back into battle. So pretty cool. All right, Allies versus Soviets. Now the Triton looks like it attacked the Soviet sub and missed. And it looks like the Soviet task force is heading toward the Triton. All right, everyone's fired. A lot of people have fired, so everybody's fired. He didn't move anymore. He ran out of the juice, right? So he'll have to get there in the next round. And he doesn't unload unless he gets there at the beginning of the round. He's got to be there at the beginning of the turn in order to do a unloading. Okay, so that means It'll go to PM. He'll move into here at the end of the PM, and then at night he'll unload. All right, so we notice. Oh, see, the allies group is now pausing. Oh boy, I didn't want them to do that, but they did it. Why are they replenishing? Probably because one of these cats is out of something. Probably like if we look, somebody's out of something. Let's see who's out. Barry looks like he's got stuff. You can tell who's replenishing by. Let's see here. Nope. You should see. Oh, so I didn't tell you. Um, yeah, so I didn't tell you. But I built in at sea replenishment. So when somebody's running out and he's out, and he has ships to replenish, it if he's going into replenishing mode, instead of him going back to port, it'll check to see, hey, do I got at sea replenishment, and then it'll use it. All right, so that guy's replenishing, but who's actually getting replenished? Maybe it's the towers. Well, somebody's got to be. Hold on a second here. Who's replenishing? Maybe I skipped it. Who is getting replenished? Oh, the Kansas City is. Why? Oh, no, no. He's giving up stuff. Oh, it's the Barry. Okay, I must have missed it. The Stop it, stupid thing. The Barry. If you look up top, he was out of something. Um, yeah, ammo. He was out of ammo, so he's replenishing. Unfortunately, he's replenishing, and that's going to take up a turn. So it means it's going to take even one more turn to get to his objective. So that was not a smart thing to do. Torp combat. Allies versus Soviet. No effect, no effect. All right, so someone shot 18 points. ASW, no effect. Boy, I tell you. Uh-oh. Allies versus Soviet. Attack on the Siamga with 9 points. That must be from the, yes, from the Groton. They damaged the Samga. I'm kind of skipping past these things. You probably want to like actually look at the details of these battles and see what's happening. But it looks like the only thing that happened was the Soviet Tango got damaged. Okay, these guys are like this is like a major maelstrom. So if the Allies get out of this without losing anything, I'm gonna be very surprised. Oh my goodness! All right, try to move this thing through this thing as quickly as possible, so this video is not like a million years long. Too late. Okay. Yes, everybody's basically shot their load, so there's not really much else going on here unless somebody detects this guy. Because the only people that have attacks left are task forces. They can do 2 attacks, but they don't detect anybody. All right, and these guys are replenishing, so they're not going to attack either. So I'm thinking of putting in like a somehow this is something I'll probably add in. Like if it's replenishing, but ships in it aren't replenishing, right? Then they should be able to do attacks during the action round. That's kind of a different. That's not how the rules say to do. So, but I mean, this game is starting to get pretty far away from. It has so many more features than the game that I don't know. I'll probably maybe put a I'll probably put a poll out or something like that to see if you guys want me to put that feature in. But otherwise, this guy's kind of out of the fight. He could be attacked, but he can't do any attacking. The Barry group. All right, let's go. Soviet vs. Allies. Okay, wow, man, someone still had an attack against that. So all the Allied stuff is unscathed. At least 3 ships on the Russian side are damaged. Um, yep, unbelievable. It is funny watching computers do their silly stuff. But literally, we're through turn 8, and things are just moving around, attacking each other, but no one can actually do anything. So this guy's still moving around because he's got points. He's no more points. All right. All right. Now going to night. Okay. Will this guy find? Okay, he's now not replenishing the Allies task force, so he'll probably move to the unload. But unfortunately, he can't actually unload until the beginning of next turn. He's there, and this guy's almost home. Now let's see if there's any target destroyed. Somebody's destroyed. Oh, the Tango. He did. Groton is attacked again by somebody for 2 points. Oh, must be this guy. I think. I don't know who the heck would attack him with two. Oh, right. The game decides. Not everybody necessarily attacks. Like some people attack in the group, so only one guy attacked. Uh-oh. Oh man. So two guys attack the Samga at the same time. Overkill. He's already dead. He dead. He very dead. All right. So all right. Once this is done, I can show the VP. All right. So now America should be getting quite a number of VP. Right. They got enough VP for the Tango plus all the damaging they've done before. Right. And if we look up who dead. We notice he's the only guy dead. So 6 points should have been for that plus um yeah, I think that's the one. Libyan, I don't think the Libyan one was ever actually damaged, is it? No. Okay, so the math works, right? 6 points for the sub, the Tango, and then two damages on surface ships, which are like 1.5 apiece, I think. So it makes sense. Okie dokie, let's go. Bottom half is Stark. Okay, somebody's attacking somebody. Allies, target destroyed on the Strogi. Oh man. There goes another Russian. Glug 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 glug. Sorry about that. To anybody who's Russian. All right. ASW. 4 points on the Groton. Nothing. So as you can tell, so the AI is basically keeping. So as you can tell, the AI will pursue targets. These guys have been in a knife fight for like a few turns now. Notice he's now in port. So next turn you'll see him replenishing, and you'll see this guy unloading. All right, let's go. We're almost there. So as you can tell, the logic works, right? The logic works. They do attacks. Um, turn 10 to AM. More fuel got used, but probably not much, being that I mean most people have been doing a lot of. Okay, cool. Whew. I was like, man, that would stink if you put the storm right there, right then. Um, all right, so now we look at this, what it should do. Okay, so he's moving up there. Notice the Ovsienko is in his on a replenish mission, and he is replenishing. Bang. This guy is on an unload mission, but he hasn't actually got to the orders phase yet. So once I hit go, you'll see this guy will start unloading. Torp combat, Allies versus Soviets. So the for some reason 5553. So that's 18 points. So that must be the Greek sub, and randomly it decided to attack 4 targets, which actually I don't think it can. I'll have to look at that. It should only be able to attack, I think, max 2 targets, right? Yeah. So in the AI part, I had it attack uh, 4 targets, and I think it can only attack up to. I think it can only attack up to 2. So I'll have to look at the rules on that one. It spread its stuff out too much, but it damaged it anyway. So uh, man, this Greek, I tell you, these Greek guys, Greek Navy. Uh-oh, who's attacking now? Now the Allies are attacking with, oh Lord, 12 points. Another more tomahawks destroyed. Okay, so the Soviets are getting their butts beat hard, being taken out to the woodshed right now, which was probably predictable, right? Given the forces, and probably the best Soviet ship in the on their side is sitting in port right now, being replenished. All right, so oh yeah, notice. So he attacked. Oh, so the Barry got a kill. Nice. So the Barry from five things out killed a Krivak with tomahawks. So yeah, and he's unloading. Notice he's on an unload mission and he's unloading. He's on patrol. He's on patrol, but he's now replenishing. He's done replenishing, so he's going to pick up a patrol um, uh, task, but he can't do anything yet. He can't move yet. All right, so that's it. So once, all right, someone attacked the Libyans, missed. So once this round ends, the AA ships, will disappear from this task force, and then this task force will now turn into a hunting task force. All right. Oh, the notice the Greek sub is heading back to replenish. So this is pretty cool, my opinion. Um, I built it, of course. Of course, I think it's cool. Hopefully y'all do too. We're almost done. Um, it's really a demo to show that the logic works. There's a couple little things I need to do to tweak. I'll have to check that, and I think that's about it. So a lot of people are replenishing because the Groton's replenishing too. Why? Probably because I think it's out of torps or something. It is no, it's out of SSMs. Oh hell, it's out of everything. It's out of SSMs and torps. But because it's on an anti-sub, it waited until it was out of torps in order to determine that it needed to go back to port. Um, Man, meanwhile, this thing is messed up. What's the VPs looking like right now? 15 VPs for the Allies. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why that is. Probably because of all the damages and destroyed. Yeah, the damages and destroyed. And they're about to get a bunch more points when these guys get. Well, anyway, we'll see. When this phase ends, when this turn ends, those ships will have unloaded their cargo. And all right. Yep. FC Combo removed from gameplay. AA San Bernardino and El Paso removed from gameplay. So now it's a PM turn. So now when we look at this Allied task force is now on patrol. So it's going to head out here and start whooping up because it doesn't have anything else left to do. It doesn't have to do an unload because everything that had to unload is gone. And if we look at the VP, we'll notice that the Allies are now up to 31 points because they just got VP for unloading ships. 10 points for the fast convoy, 3 points each for the AAs. And if we look at the destroyed, it's probably getting pretty well. It shows the Americans when we move them for play. I technically destroy them, but the enemy doesn't get points for them. So if we look, we see all the things that are in this thing. So we got the Strogi, so a Cashin, Krivak, and a Tango, plus the 3 American stuff. All right, I think we're just about done. I'm just going to let this thing roll. What I wanted you to see is that in this round, what should happen is the Russian sub, Russian sub just left port, and now it's heading to patrol. Why is it going there? I guess that's a hex within this thing. The Barry is now, I don't know whether it's going here just randomly or because this was decided at the time, but either way, these things are going to start going around and attacking each other. So I think we got to the point where I think you've seen how the logic works, right? Okay, so essentially everything worked like the way I wanted it to. There was a couple of little stupid things like in setup, I couldn't set the AI role properly. I'll have to check that out. Um, I do need to check out that whether or not the how it determines how many when the turn ends. I always seem to think there's an issue with that. It's never really that important, but it's just something that bugs me. And then it looks like when the AI does a torp attack, it looks like it doesn't limit it to two targets. I think I'll have to look at the rules. Either way, so if you guys have any thoughts, if you like what you see, let me know. I'm gonna post this on YouTube, and I'm gonna post like a little summarization of what happens in the video. Um, but I really appreciate it, and what the next thing I hope to show is aircraft, aircraft launching, doing their thing, very similar to the way ships are, but it's a little differently because the air. Number one, they have to make it back to base at the end of each turn, and they also have to they can move a lot more, and they have a lot more ability to change what they're doing in the mission, right? So it's going to be like a kind of a I'm using the template of the ships to kind of do the aircraft thing, but I don't have the aircraft stuff working yet. So that would be the next time. I'd probably add in some patrol planes, do go through another scenario, maybe set it up so we get to battle a little sooner. But I do think it was necessary to kind of show you guys how the all the ships like determine what their objectives are and start moving toward it. So hopefully this excites you that you may have a generally I don't know about challenging, but an AI opponent that actually like does stuff, right, and follows missions and does things in somewhat of a logical way. All right. Well, thanks a lot, everybody, and I hope you all have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.